Right, hello, ladies and gentlemen. So in today's episode, we have Aaron from Backcountry Foodie, who is a dietitian who specializes in working with backpackers and hikers. And in this episode, she comes on to share two great approaches to backpacking nutrition and great ideas for meals when you're on the trail. Now, I specifically wanted Aaron to come on and talk about these two things because I know a lot of hikers out there are kind of stuck in a rut in regards to their eating, and they do the same things over and over and over. And sometimes just getting an idea about a slightly different approach that you can take to your meals can just be the light bulb moment. It can just open up so many options. And for Aaron to come on today and talk about two very, very simple things, but very, very, very great approaches to some sorts of meals may open up some great ideas for people in the future. So if you're a long-term backpacker, you may have heard these things before, but for me, I think it's going to be so valuable just to learn, just to listen and get a few ideas from Aaron. So with that being said, I really hope you enjoyed today's episode, and let's get into it. Hey, my name is Rowan Smith, and I want to welcome you to the Training for Trekking podcast. Now, this is the world's very first podcast, which is entirely dedicated to helping you train, prepare, and conquer your upcoming hike, trek, or mountain adventure. So once a week, I'm going to be giving you quality and practical information on the subjects of physical preparation for trekking, dealing with altitude, and nutrition on the trail, so you can know everything you need to be doing to have the best chance of a safe, enjoyable, and successful adventure. So now you know what you're in for. Let's get into today's episode. All right. Hello, Aaron. Welcome to the show. So happy to have you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. We chatted a few years ago, so it's exciting to kind of chat again about what's going on now.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so funny to think like it was ages ago. Like time really has kind of merged into one the last few years, in all honesty. So yeah, it's been a long time coming having you back involved. But yeah, really excited to have a bit of a chat today because I love the stuff that you do. It's such a different take on the supporting hikers with their nutrition in different ways than other people are doing. And I think you got such a cool things that I've seen from your side of things, which we're going to explore today and talk through a couple of things that I think are really interesting in regards to hiking nutrition. But before I get ahead of myself, for people who may not have come across you before, may not know who you are or whatever it may be, do you just want to give us a bit of background, like who you are, what you do, where you're from, and give us the spiel there?
Yes. So my name's Erin Owens-Mayhew. I'm a registered dietitian, an ultralight long distance backpacker. It's quite the mouthful of a title. I have been a backpacker and a dietitian for over 20 years now, and I'm the owner and founder of backcountryfoodie.com. So I've been incredibly lucky to be able to blend my passion for food and hiking into my own career. So in our website, we offer recipes that I've created for my trips and trail tested. We have a meal planner where I do all the education of how to plan for your trips. And then we also do nutrition coaching. We have a resupply service where I help hikers with their resupply boxes. So that's kind of Backcountry Foodie in a nutshell. Where I'm from, I'm currently on the California Central Coast, but we lived in a camper van for several years. We lived in Seattle for 20 years, and I'm from Kentucky originally. So I've covered quite a bit of the continent.
Yeah, fair enough. Awesome. And kind of what I wanted you to get on the podcast today, and I was kind of thinking about what would be a cool subject to cover. And we've done lots of different nutrition subjects on this podcast. But as you mentioned there, you have a really awesome, as part of your business, recipes for hikers and backpackers. And you got this awesome database. There's so many cool things. And I remember like when going through your recipes, and maybe I was even on one of your webinars one time, and there are a couple of really cool ideas that really struck out at me. And I was like, these are really awesome around types of nutrition you can kind of do on your adventures. And the two ones that really jumped out, which I really wanted to have a bit of a chat about today, is number one, freezer bag style meals, which if you haven't heard of before, I'd never heard of before until I saw Aaron did it, and I was like blown away. I was like, that's so simple, but such a cool idea. We'll dive into that in a second. And then also like no cook ideas as well, because I know nutrition, hiking, we often get stuck in the same old things again and again and again. It gets a little bit boring, and I think these are two cool ideas just to kind of expand horizons a little bit. So to start with this freezer bag style meal, do you just want to kind of give us a brief rundown in regards to what is a freezer bag style meal and why would a hiker consider this? Like, where does it come into the equation?
Absolutely. So a freezer bag style meal is exactly that. It's using a Ziploc freezer bag that you can put your food in to store it and cook it in, or even just use cold water to mix it in. It's a style of eating that you don't have to cook in a pot. So it's for people, particularly myself. I'm an ultralight backpacker. I don't like to carry a lot of extra things that I don't need. And I'm also very type A. You'll quickly learn through this podcast. I talk fast. I have a lot of energy. So I like things to be quick. So freezer bag cooking is very quick. You add water to the meal in the bag, and then it just heats it up there. So you don't have to cook over a stove for 20 minutes, like a lot of the like neuroplasticides that have to cook a long time. And with that, you don't have to dirty a pot. So you're not leaving dirty water in the backcountry. So it's a good leave no trace. It does create some plastic waste, which we could kind of talk about, but there are some tips around that I actually wash and reuse my plastic baggies for garbage bags for future or just storing other things. So you're not able to cook in the bags again because of the degradation of the plastic, but you can use those plastic baggies for other things. And they also just store so easily in your backpack because the things like Mountain House meals or any of the commercial meals and the Mylar bags, the kind of silvery ones that are really stiff, they take up a lot of space. So just using plastic baggies really kind of help you compress the meal down to very small volume so you can actually get more food in your backpack than some of the other larger meals.
Yeah, fantastic. And I remember, I think the first time I saw it, that you'd done, and it wasn't even a full meal, but it was like more of like a smoothie, in the freezer bag. And like you just put it together, with a few simple ingredients and just walking around with a straw in your freezer bag. And I was like, that's awesome. That's such a cool idea. Um, so what I'd love you to sort of share today now, is, yeah, I'd love you if you just talk through an example of this. So obviously it sounds like a super cool idea, super convenient, lots of benefits. Like, what would be a super simple example that someone might be able to go about and try themselves?
Well, super simple. A lot of people eat oatmeal. So you could take a packet of oatmeal at home. And this is, I'm going to throw in a few of my little nutrition bonuses in here as the dietitian in me, is taking just a packet of oatmeal, throwing in some extra nuts in there, throwing in some shredded coconut, throwing in some milk powder, whether that's whole milk powder, almond milk powder, oat milk powder, whatever you need for your particular diet, maybe some dried fruit in there, and then you just seal it up. And those are all shelf stable ingredients that are going to stay for an entire season. So if you have a few trips planned, it's another reason why I like the freezer bag is you can put in these all in the off season when you're sitting around. I don't know, when we lived in Seattle, it rained all the time. So we would prep a lot of things during the rainy season and then they'd be ready for the summer. So that way you have these things already pre-prepped. You just pull them out of your backpacking bin and then you're off and ready to go when your trip comes up.
Yeah, awesome. Dead simple. That's so good. How good. And then anything else on the freezer bag style you'd like to add to that? I know you mentioned in regards to using the bags for different things on your hiking, and yeah, anything else you want to add on this particular topic?
Well, another little tip for helping it cook faster is using an insulated cozy. And what I mean by that is if you get on YouTube, search for insulated cozy, you're going to see all kinds of DIY versions that you can make yourself. The reason why I mention this is that because you're not cooking over an extended period of time on a stove to have the continuous heat, that the heat does escape really quickly out of the freezer bags because it's just a plastic baggie. Is that if you do use an insulated cozy, it'll actually cook the meal even faster and keep it warmer longer. So that's just kind of an extra little thing to keep in mind if you are going to think about freezer bag cooking.
Yeah, nice. And for the example you gave, just out of curiosity, like roughly how long would it typically take for you put it together, and then how long would it take for it all to sort itself out in the bag?
Oh gosh, super simple. Like I was saying, I'm very gotta have things done quickly because so breakfast, like I was just mentioning, the oatmeal that might take 3 to 4 minutes to put a few ingredients in a baggie and seal it up. Similar kind of thing when you add hot water to it, it's going to take only 3 or 4 minutes. You kind of think like microwave. You put some boiling water from the microwave into your oatmeal at home. Takes about a minute or so. I know we're going to talk about cold soaking in a little bit. So if you were to add cold water to your oatmeal, that could actually be like an overnight oats kind of thing. So that would take a little bit longer. But for the most part, it's only a few minutes. It doesn't really take any time at all.
Yeah, how good. How good. Yeah, fantastic. All right. Well, so there's our freezer bag style, which I think is such a cool thing, and I'm definitely going to be using that in the future. Let's talk about no cook. So same sort of principles. I know there's probably lots of different things that go into no cook, but can you just give us a brief rundown? No cook recipes, like what are they, and again, why would a hiker consider this particular approach?
So no cook, one of the main reasons to consider it is ease of preparation, because again, you're not having to get out a stove. You're not having, if you're a through hiker, you're not resupplying and have to get stove fuel and those kind of things. Or for somebody that likes to start really early, that doesn't want to have to get out, get a stove and that kind of thing. And essentially what no cook is literally that. You're just putting cold water into things instead of having to heat up water, then cook the food. So another example, like you were talking about my shakes that I do is just adding some water in the baggie. The no cook is also just the freezer baggies. Use the same kind of bag to store the things. And then you just add the water, stir it up, and it's done within a few minutes. For no cook, there's cold soak, which is a little bit different. It's still using cold water, but the food actually has to soak a little bit longer. Those are typically things like pastas that actually have to absorb the water, versus a no cook would be something like a breakfast example would be a cold cereal. And I don't think many people have considered this, that cold cereal you eat for breakfast at home is fantastic on the trail. Just some bran flakes that you might have, some milk powder, some maybe raisins, some nuts in there, maybe again some coconut in there, and you've got an amazing breakfast that takes very little energy on at home and on trail to prepare. Just add water, stir it up, eat out of the bag, and you're ready to go. Similar kind of thing with the drinks. So the drinks examples would be adding in your milk powder of choice. I use a lot of oat flour as a thickener, or almond flour is another way of adding calories, or chia seeds to thicken it up. You can add in some freeze-dried fruit in there to make a smoothie. So there's all kinds of things you can just put in this little baggie and then add water, and your meal is ready within a matter of minutes.
Yeah, how good, how good. And I guess, like, just out of curiosity, or if you know off the top of your head, obviously, the world's your oyster in this type of thing once you kind of wrap your head around it. Like, on your, like, with your database of recipes and everything, roughly how many recipes would you have for the freezer bag or the no cook style? So, like, off the top of your head.
Oh, I would say 99.9% are freezer bag, because I really don't
Yeah.
like cooking in a pot myself. So the recipes are really all based on my own experience. There are a few things that I do use in a pot, because cheese just melts so much better when you have a stove. So there's some cheese grits in there that I use that. And I actually have a pineapple upside down cake recipe that's absolutely amazing, but it does require baking it essentially in the pot. So there are a handful of things that require a pot in the website, but 99% of them don't require a pot. They're all freezer bag style. Yeah.
Yeah, how good. All right. Well, tell us, yeah, with that being said, like, tell us a little bit more about kind of what you do with Backcountry Foodie, like how you go about helping hikers, like give us the rundown. What do you offer? Like, I'd love to hear a little bit more about that.
So again, I'm a registered dietitian. I've been one for a very long time, and I'm super passionate about food and hiking because of my own experience. That I've hit the wall, I've bonked, I felt terrible, I've recovered poorly. I've done all those things. And now that I've really looked into the nutrition behind it, I was actually a clinical dietitian for 16 years. So this is more of a newer thing in the last 6 years that I've transitioned to as a hiking dietitian. But it's all based on kind of what I've experimented on myself. So I've since read all the research, and now I take what I've learned and I incorporate that into the recipes that I develop. So I make the recipes as nutritious as possible, but while also being an ultralight backpacker, I want things to be as light as possible. You can't see me, but I'm 46. So I have to think about the weight of my backpack a lot more than I used to. So that's part of it too, is the more nutritious the meal is, the less it actually can weigh and the less space it takes up in my backpack. So that's a big part of what I do, is I make sure it just is the high performance food, but it's super easy to make at home and it's super easy to make on trail. So that way you spend more of your time enjoying your experience in the backcountry than worrying about food and how you're going to feel, because like I've already done all that work for you.
Yeah, fantastic, fantastic. And if someone was trying to work with you or get a bit of help with you or access your recipes or whatever it may be, what would be the best place to start, and what would they be looking out for there?
So head on over to our website at backcountryfoodie.com. We have 4 main products, which is kind of what I alluded to in the beginning, is the recipes membership, where I add new recipes every single month. That's the reason why it's an online platform, because cookbooks, I have to collect them all and then finally publish them. I like sharing things as soon as I develop them with hikers. So the online platform, there's over 200 in there right now. Again, new ones added every month. And then we have the meal planning platform, which is essentially, if you're an Excel spreadsheet person, you're going to love the meal planner because it does all of the work for you. You can say goodbye to your spreadsheets and use the planner. It's just a click, click, click. It adds up all the nutrition. It adds up how much the food weighs. The best part is the shopping list, is it tells you exactly what you need to go and buy for your trips. Then we also have the nutrition coaching part of the business, is that I can do one-on-one coaching with you. And I do primarily the nutrition help for on trail kind of performance. And we have another dietitian, Amelia, who does pre-trail kind of nutrition. So if you're prepping for a big trip, she's the better person to do those kinds of things. And she also has experience with bariatric backpackers. So she's a really good resource if you're in that kind of situation, having post-surgery, and now you're ready to hit the trail and really start getting to it. So she's a really good resource for that. And then I also mentioned the resupply service, is where you just don't have time to deal with the food. I want somebody else to do it for you. I'm your girl. So I make all the food, I buy all the food, I ship all the food. And then we also now have a shop where we're offering all of our Backcountry Foodie meals. So if you love our recipes but don't have time to make them, then you can buy them already pre-made. Or if you're not a DIY person and you do want to experience kind of the work that I've done, then you can buy our meals already pre-made in the shop too.
Oh, fantastic, fantastic. Well, what I'll do is, for anyone who is interested in, checking out any of those things you mentioned, recipes, the meal planning, the one-to-one coaching, whatever it may be, I'll leave a link in the show notes below so everyone can kind of check that out, check out the website and take it from there. But I think that will probably do us for today, Aaron. A nice short and sweet episode, but it covered exactly what I wanted today, because I think just introducing this topic, I think for so many hikers, at least the hikers that I work with, I think it may just open their eyes to kind of the potential of like different cool things. Exactly what I wanted from today's episode. So thank you so much for coming on, Aaron. I really appreciate it, and I really hope this gives a bit of inspiration for a lot of hikers out there with their nutrition.
Well, that's what I hope, because I think a lot of people are hesitant to think about DIY meals because they feel it's overwhelming and too complicated, and it doesn't have to be. It could be so easy and so just quick and easy and inexpensive too. I think a lot of people associate DIY work with being expensive, and it doesn't have to be at all. You can go to the grocery store, pick up things you need during your regular grocery shopping trip, and then you're ready to go. And you're eating food that you really enjoy. But that's part of why I do what I do too, is that you're able to, if you have a lot of dietary restrictions for whatever reason, you're able to manage all that yourself instead of having to do all the shopping and hoping another company's ingredients haven't changed, all those kind of things. So I really love what I do, and people can feel free to reach out to me anytime for help. I'm happy to help in any way that I can.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Aaron,
Oh, sure.
for fitting this in. Really, really appreciate it. And hopefully we'll have you back on for another topic one day very, very soon.
Okay, sounds good. I'll talk to you again then.